Have you ever been where you feel like sales calls are just yucky and though you may be selling well, it just doesn't feel in alignment with you and it just doesn't feel good, right? Think about the impact that has on your daily life as a business owner. It's not great, is it? So I have a journey of one of my clients that I'd like to share with you. Hear it from her mouth on what life is like as she has learned how to approach sales from a different perspective and the lightness and the joy you'll see on her face as she shares her journey coming at sales from a very soul-based approach in alignment with her. So I'd like to introduce you to Sophie. So, Sophie, thank you so much for being here today. And I just love having you in our community. So, I just appreciate your time and wanted to take you through your journey of finding out about the program and making the decision to join. So, I'm going to start first with why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what you do so everyone can know.
Of course. So my name is Sophie Villeneuve, and I'm the owner of Beyond Birthing, which is well, a company, but like mainly what I do is I've developed a course for pregnant women who want to prepare their pelvic floor for birth, to reduce injuries, and then recover faster after. And so how I learned about your program, Jessie, is through Helena, who is a friend of mine who we connected through another coaching program. And she was telling me that she was in your program and how much she was getting out of it. And she just kept referring back to Jessie and Jessie and Jessie in our messages. So I was like, who's this Jessie? And so I looked you up, and then I signed up for your masterclass, and I really enjoyed the wording you were using. It just felt like really aligned with what I value, like heart-centered sales, and really kind of more focusing on the person versus the sale. So yeah, so then we had our discovery call together, and it went super well. I felt really aligned with you, and that's how I decided to sign up.
Yeah, awesome. And we're going to talk about it, but you've seen some great successes and changes since you've joined. And it's only been, I think it's been like even less than 2 months now,
I
right?
know. It's crazy.
So that's amazing. Okay, so talk to me, excuse me, talk to me a little bit about your emotions around selling before you joined the program. Like what were you feeling about the sales process at that point?
Mm-hmm. So my background is I'm a physiotherapist, and I specialize in pelvic health. And in physio school, no one tells you about marketing or selling things. And so when I decided to create my online course, and then I was thrown into this like, okay, now sell your program, it was really like uncomfortable to have. And now I'm selling my program through phone calls. So people cannot just with a button on my website, sign up for the program. So we have that initial conversation because I want to know if they're a good fit or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it just felt, I thought I was getting some confidence slowly as I was doing more, but there was always that part of the conversation where after asking the questions to the potential client about their needs and that, I just felt yucky selling my offer and describing it and then addressing objections. So that was the part where I was super confident for the first half, and then the second half, you could tell that I was just like kind of doing this, right?
Yeah.
And
You felt that way inside, right? You kind of like
yeah,
felt that?
exactly.
Yeah.
And potential clients can feel that when
Yeah.
you kind of you're not super grounded.
Yeah.
And I was following a script from that other coaching program I was in, and it just felt so like organized. And then I was like, oh, I skipped that question, sorry, can we go back? And like it was just it was not flowy, and I
Yeah.
didn't like that. It
Yeah.
felt like a distance in between me and my potential clients. So yeah, basically that's how I felt, and
Yeah.
that's where I wanted to improve. And my closing rate before taking your program was around 65%. So it was not a
Just,
bad closing
yeah,
rate,
that's awesome. Yeah, still
but
great, right?
I still felt like there were a few once in a while where I was like, it's not because they're not a great fit. They are a great fit, but I was not able to kind of, you know, seize what it was in their needs that I could go and offer, kind of thing,
Yeah.
or like present that unique offer. So that was for those ones that I was interested in your program, because I was like, I've kind of lost these clients in a way because
Yeah.
I was confident.
Yeah. So you actually, I know you were excited and you jumped in and started doing the modules pretty quickly. So how long did it take you to kind of work through the course? Obviously, like we're not even 2 months in. I know you're done with the course. You've been done with the course for a little bit, I think.
Yeah, it took me basically 3 weeks.
Okay.
And I was, when I signed up, remember, I was in Mexico on a vacation.
Yes, I
And I
remember.
promised myself I would not jump into the course right away, but I was just like lying on a chair by the pool. And I was like, oh, why don't I watch a lesson? So I did a few lessons during that week. And then I didn't want to like rush through the course because I could have done it in a week
Sure.
or two probably, but I like the idea of integrating your tips. I had a few sales calls planned after my trip from Mexico. And so I wanted to start integrating some of your techniques like little by little, as opposed to have that big thing that felt a bit
Yeah.
overwhelming.
And that's
So
what I was going to ask. Were you able to start incorporating some of the things you were learning into the sales calls that you had? Like as you continued through the program, you were able to start using some of
absolutely
Okay.
everything you say, like in each lesson, there's like an action point that I could integrate right away. There were some that I think I was already doing. So it was just a good reminder of, oh, yeah, that is important. But there are things, Jessie, like that really changed everything for me. Like sometimes, you give tips to people and you probably don't know what people really connect with. But for
Yeah.
me, it was when you said having a visual of your offer, like that changed everything for me. Because
Yeah.
when I was presenting my offer, it was always verbally, and I felt like I was just from that part of the conversation vomiting information onto my prospect. Um,
Yeah.
and then they were just kind of a bit lost into like, where are we at? And I could see them tuning or turning
Yeah.
off, or like when the because we do it on Zoom, so I can see that their eyes were, they were a bit more distracted.
Yeah.
And so now I created this beautiful PDF with all my modules and what the program includes. And so at that part of the conversation, I'm like, oh, do you mind if we share the screen? And I'm going to show you what the program is about. And now they can follow and they can like, and it allows me to be like, okay, for that part, do you have any questions? Checking in.
Yeah.
No, it sounds great. Okay, does that align with what you're thinking? Yes. Okay, I'm getting a yes. Continuing on. So it just structures the
And you
conversation.
see it on their face that they're still
Yeah.
engaged. Yeah.
And
I
they're like
completely,
nodding.
I know what you're talking about. Like when you are in a sales conversation with someone and you start to lose them, you can see it in their face. You can see it in their eyes. And that's where like you have to figure out a plan to get them back, right? If you're losing them, you want to try and re-engage. And yeah, so I think
Exactly.
tools like that are really helpful in keeping someone engaged with you because they're trying to absorb so much.
A
Yeah,
hundred
that's awesome.
percent.
Yeah.
And also it allows them to um, just ask you more questions because they see it. So they're like, oh, this thing that you just mentioned, otherwise they won't remember.
Yeah.
And also, I like that after the sales call, if they haven't signed up on the call, I can say, do you mind if I send you the PDF? So this way you can check it out on your end and just, and this way it gives me an opportunity to send the email with the PDF versus just sending an email out of the blue, like
Yeah.
because they
Absolutely.
expect that email.
Yeah, and that's just it gives you a great opportunity to say thank you for your time, and then they're thinking about your conversation through that PDF that you're sending, right? So they're
Exactly.
yeah, and it probably, if I had to guess, it helps eliminate some objections that you may have been getting prior
Yes.
with that. Yeah. Look
Yeah.
at your smile.
And that is
Yeah, that's
another thing I took away from your course is anticipating objections according to other sales calls you've had, and then including them as a, oh, before we move forward, here are some frequently asked questions about the program. I'm just going to go over them in case you have those questions too. This way you're like kind of preventatively addressing
yes.
those objections, which feels really nice, because then you're not just oh, she told me like this thing and now I need to kind of address it. So
And
yeah,
sometimes
that,
people are scared to ask, right? Like they're
yeah,
thinking it, but they don't want to ask. They don't want to seem silly or stupid or something like that. So when you say it, then again, it makes them feel more comfortable, right? They're like, oh, okay, I'm not the only one that thinks that, right?
totally, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So talk to me about like you were implementing these things. Did you feel like you could feel a shift in your sales calls pretty quickly? When did you start to see a change?
Yeah, like right away. Honestly, I must have had like 6 or 7 sales calls in April. So I started in March your course,
Mhm.
did the program, and yeah, amongst these 6, I think or was it 8? Maybe it was 8, and I closed 6 of them,
Mhm.
and then 2 I did not enroll, but not because I was not. It's because they were not a fit for the program,
Yeah,
basically. So, and we identified that in the need assessment and the
yeah,
first part of the call. And because they were not the right fit, then I did not pitch my offer. So
sure.
amongst the people who were the right fit, they all enrolled.
That's amazing. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So even though you had a great conversion rate before, it's still come up and gotten you some additional new clients that you can help and more income for your business, which is great, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so um was there any, I mean, you've shared some really great things that you have learned from the course. Was there anything that was kind of a particular surprise that you weren't expecting to get from the program that is has been like an extra special, maybe icing on the cake for you?
Yeah, I would say it's the community around your program. So, like all the entrepreneurs, like mostly women, from what I
Yeah,
understand now. Maybe it will diversify
yeah,
eventually, but um, like I feel like it's such a supportive community, and like on the coaching calls that you do, like people have ideas and they connect with you and they're sending you things like outside of the sales call or the coaching call,
yeah.
"Hey, I'm going to send you this resource." So it feels like not only we have you as a great expert and coach and with all this experience you have, but also all these other connections that we're
Yeah.
building. So
I do
that
love
is
that. And
really,
I'm glad to hear you say that, 'cause I feel like it's a super supportive community. Like I've been part of some communities where you don't want to speak up because you feel like you're not, almost like you're not achieving as much as everybody else, right? So you feel kind
totally.
of bad. But I do feel like, it's a group that is supporting you wherever you are on your journey and wanting to help you get to that next step wherever you are. So
Yes.
yeah, you
So
see
that's
and feel that. I'm glad to hear that because I feel that way too. So yeah. So
And
tell me
also,
yeah,
if
yeah,
I can add
of
on to
course.
that, but like your support, Jessie, like you are so committed to giving us results, and like
Uh,
whether it is like messaging us sometimes, like privately to be like, hey, like here's a thought, and that is over and beyond what I expected from you as a coach. So I feel like you're really present, and I really appreciate your
thank you.
support.
It's it's why I do what I do, like it means the world to me to see you succeeding, right? Like I've walked the path and I know that sales can feel yucky, but it doesn't need to be. It can be very much aligned with your heart, your soul, um, and connect you with your ideal clients in a way that's way beyond what we really think. So I
Totally.
it's so rewarding to watch that happen for people, for me. So that's why I do what I do. So it means a lot to me. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
I know if I'm out on a walk and I'll think of something, yeah, you may hear from me like, hey, Sophie, guess what? I was just thinking of you.
Yeah, that's awesome. We really
Yeah.
feel like you've taken we're under your wings, like
Good.
and you feel really supported.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
if I can add to like some of the takeaways from your course, is like the buckets that you talk about. For me, when I was not making a sale and the person was a good fit, I was feeling so low. And you do explain in the program that there are highs and lows coming
Yeah.
with sales, being in sales,
Yeah.
which I appreciate. But like the fact that you say, okay, every sale has a positive outcome,
Yep.
whether it is the client enrolling later because they had such a good conversation, or they may not enroll, but they may talk about you to other people.
Yeah.
And so every time I don't make a sale, I always think of those buckets and I'm like, okay, this is bucket number 3. I may not see the result right now. It may manifest later on,
Yes.
but I'm building relationships right now. And that is
Yes.
really what it is about.
Yeah, absolutely. You're touching someone's life in a very positive way on that call, and that is always going to come back to you.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah, that's just my belief in the law of the universe. So yeah, it will come back to you. Yeah, I'm glad you like the buckets. I always talk about the buckets too.
Yeah.
So talk to me about your ideal vision of your business. Like, you're doing this for a deep why within you. So what is your vision for your business? And how do you see like being part of this program supporting getting you there?
Hmm. Well, so my vision for my business is I want to support women, pregnant women from all over the world. And it's already started in the last 2 months. I've enrolled 4 international clients from
Yeah,
people who watch my YouTube videos and
yeah,
got into my program. So it's starting. I want to build that up. I want to be international and like that. Like no matter what the country, I can help women from all over the world. That's really
yeah,
my vision. And being pregnant right now with our first baby, I have a vision for my family life that it will be balanced with, just being flexible and where I can work from. I didn't
yeah.
want to do private physio treatments anymore because that bounds me to my location.
Mhm.
And so I'm really like building my online presence. And I feel like in that regard, your course or your program is going to support me in that growth because I bet things will show up, like refunds or, whatever that is. And so it's nice to know that your program will always, and you will always be there to support me
Yeah,
at any stage
yeah,
along the way.
yeah. Yeah, sales, I've found, I've been in the sales world for 20, 25 years. So, and for me, there's always an evolution that can happen. Like you can hear somebody say a question, you're like, gosh, I've never heard that before. And it's a great question. I want to incorporate it into what I do. So it's like a constant learning, evolving. Right.
Yeah,
So, like, you feel like you get to a place of mastery to some degree where you instinctively know where to go, but that doesn't mean your learning journey is done. Right. So, you can keep finding a better way to connect to people. So, and it's really interesting because, yeah, the world has opened up for us. Right. And women are the same around the world. Regardless, their physical health is the same when they go through the journey of having a child and the recovery. So yeah, I found the same thing. I mean, being able to reach people around the world these days is a lot easier, and we're all so much the same. So yeah,
totally.
I definitely see that journey for you happening because of how you support women and your coaching program. It's
Yeah,
exciting.
and I would add to, I live in a very small, or 25,000 people, but I live near Alaska and the Yukon in Canada. And, not a lot of people in my community do the kind of business model that I chose. So it's really hard. I connect with colleagues, healthcare providers, and they don't know exactly what I'm doing. And even I was talking to a family member this weekend, and she's like, "Oh, you're just working in the clinic 4 hours a week. So what are you doing the rest of your time?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm creating videos. I'm following up with prospects. I'm like," and she doesn't get it, right? It's not a model that
Yeah,
is really still developed a lot.
it
So
is.
having that community where people understand each other, we're all working toward the same-ish goal of, building online programs and things like that. It's so nice to just on Monday on your coaching call, I know that everyone's on the same page. No one is asking like, why are you making YouTube videos? Like,
Yeah.
so
Well,
having
and
that
we're around the
connection.
world, like our community is around the world too. So like if someone from Australia needs to know of someone who can help women who are going through the pregnancy journey, they now know Sophie, right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. Okay. So what else would you like to share about your journey? I mean, share, is there anything else that you'd like to share at this point? It's just been wonderful having you part of the community and watching, like I see your smiling face like this all the time, like you have these wins over and over again and you show up with that great smile. So it's wonderful for me to see, very, very rewarding. But yeah,
Aw,
anything else that
thank
you'd
you.
like to
Well, I guess my last words would be, if you are developing like your online business and you have sales calls already, but you're feeling a bit off about how it feels like on the sales call, sign up for Jessie's program, because honestly, this is the best investment. You will make your investment, like you will make up for it within, I will say, like 2 months, if you are dedicated and if you have the sales calls volume. It's impossible that you won't take away anything from her course. Like, this is so valuable, and the community and her support, like all of that together is such great value. So
thank you. I didn't pay you for any of this.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So
I feel that way too. Like I feel like even if you just made one more sale a month, I mean, like how can, like if you're a small business owner, sales is the thing that can change your life. It did for me. Like I was not an extroverted person. I was not a salesperson when I got into sales. And so I had to just figure it out. And it was a longer journey for me, but that's exactly what I'm teaching these days, right? So what I did and what worked for me, but it like sales can change your life because first off, I don't want it to be yucky for anybody, right? And it
yeah,
doesn't need to be. And if you're a business owner, you don't want to live with it being yucky because that then becomes your day. And
yeah,
so, and so it's so worth finding a way to have it feel good to you. And then even if you just make one more sale a month or, I mean, it's still in a matter of 6 months or a year, you're way far ahead of where you have been. So, and
yeah.
feeling better.
Exactly. Well, that's the point, right? Even if I had not increased my closing rate, I think just for the value I get from feeling better about myself and feeling better during the calls, I think the
Yeah.
program is worthwhile,
Yeah.
because you don't want to feel bad all day. You don't want to, like,
No.
get into your weekend thinking, oh, it was a bit pushy the way I was with this client, or,
Yeah.
like, you want to feel good about your work. So I think just for that, the program is worthwhile.
Ah, Sophie, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I've been so happy to see your journey, even though it hasn't even been 8 weeks yet. You've just had a wonderful journey, and I just can so see you flourishing in a huge way down the road. So
Thank
I'm very
you.
grateful to have you in the group and the community, and thank you for your time today.
No
And I
worries.
just wish you worlds of success and fun while you're at it.
Thank you.
Thank you.